Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com and by Die Hard. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
And thank you, Alec Webb, and welcome everyone to MotorWeek Podcast. In this case, it's podcast number 110. And around our studio today, helping us out, is executive producer Brian Roberts.
Hello.
We are honored that you grace us with your appearance.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Our writer, producer, and two-wheeling reporter, that man on two wheels at all time, Brian Robinson.
What's up, John?
Our road test producer, who has more angles than cameras, Ben Davis.
Lucky 110. Glad to be here.
And our writer, Patrick Lucas.
Thanks for the beautiful introduction for me.
And, short and sweet, Patrick, but I should tell you that Patrick is also the podcast producer, so anything that you hear in the next 20 minutes is his fault. Okay, we'll have our lightning round, and we have an unusual viewer question for us today, one that we actually had to tap into Pat Goss for an answer. But first, let's get to the cars, and there are a lot of them. We're going to cover a couple of individual models, the Nissan Murano, of course, the Chevrolet Corvette Z06 that everyone's talking about. But first off, Brian and I are fresh back from the 2015 North American International Auto Show in Detroit, which was a very, very good show. But I actually would like to find out what Mr. Roberts thought. Give us an idea of what you thought of the show overall, and what are some of the hits.
I would say, in the past several years, it was definitely one of the most exciting shows that I've been to. There was just a lot of energy there. It was very electric. Ford just put on an incredible show, and so did GM. I thought the star of the show, was the Ford GT.
Yeah, I think without question. Supercar, 50th anniversary coming up of their first win at Le Mans.
Modern and muscular look, but yet, the awareness to the lineage of the GT. So
it's a twin-turbo V6, right, which I thought was
It's
weird.
A twin-turbo EcoBoost V6. I think they were talking 600-plus horsepower, but probably in race trim it'll be more than that.
I was just excited to see they, confirmed they are going to build it versus keeping us dangling out there for years. Like, we may, but they're going to build it. So
yeah, well, next year, 16, and Brian, hop in here because you probably know more than I do about it, is the 50th anniversary of the original GT win at Le Mans, and they're going to take this one back to Le Mans, and so here we go. This car, unlike the last GT, the 05 to 09, that was a street car primarily. This, when you look at it with the way that it's got all the aerodynamics for downforce, this is a race car. The two driver and passenger cramped right together just like the original car.
Can't wait to drive it.
It looks spectacular. And I also heard that, unlike the last car, which was, $150,000, this one they're talking it may be over $1 million a copy. I mean, it's a true supercar. It's going to be something. Mm-hmm. What else?
Well, Ford also had that GT350R, which
a lightweight Shelby.
Yeah, it's the most track-capable production Mustang ever. It's their rebuttal to the Camaro Z28, and
all stripped down, no AC,
yep, no
sound editing,
backup camera, no radio. I don't think a lot of stuff.
No backup camera.
Heaven forfend. I'll take the other side of the equation. Ford obviously sees a lot of heat in their future at GM, and here you have the two biggest domestic car companies, totally different views of the near future. Chevrolet, very, very much into continuing the electric car theme. Not only did they show a new Chevrolet Volt plug-in hybrid with more EV range, about 50 miles, a better, smoother, quieter, more powerful yet smaller gas engine, 400 miles total range, looking a little too much like a Prius for my taste, but okay.
Well, think about it. Gas is cheap for now,
right?
For now, and they're lining themselves up pretty well with this Volt. Like you said,
the CAFE standards aren't changing. It's more fuel economy is going to be demanded, but they did surprise everybody to some degree with the all-electric Bolt, B-O-L-T, which they're now saying they probably, they weren't definite, but it's a 5-door, it's a hatchback. Some rumors were it would be a sedan.
I think it's a game changer. 200-mile possible range.
200-mile
possible
range.
is the big word there.
Yeah, and price $30,000 after
the incentives.
Yeah.
But 200, Brian, The reason, I mean, you're right.
That's the magic number. That's where everyone needs to get.
Number.
Yes, yeah.
Well, that gets rid of the range anxiety.
Yeah.
Suppose it's 150 in reality, which, in our case, every time we get something, it's at least 25% less than
And it's just like the Volt when they first showed that. They were like 50, 60 miles of it, and then each time they showed it again, the range kind of snuck down to when it came out at 35 or whatever. So.
But the 200 number, even under ideal conditions, that's the magic number, I think, to make electric cars at least people can consider them without thinking they're going to run out all the time.
Yeah, lofty goals. Unfortunate name. I'm sure they would change the name.
It's a typo. The V and the B key are right next to each other on a keyboard. I think someone just messed up.
It sure is going to be confusing.
My immature nature went straight to prank calling a parts department and changed it from Volt to Bolt every other. Volt? Yeah, Bolt. Bolt? Yeah, I need a door for a Volt.
Oh, well, we'll see. But they did also do something else at GM. While they stuck Chevy all in the green theme, they actually had more diversity, I thought, with the other two divisions. At Buick, they had the new small Opel convertible that they're going to bring in.
First time in, 25
years.
The grill wasn't a typical Buick. It looked like more like an Opel, but they have some time to change it.
If you've got 2 years, why can't you change that? But the
Cascada,
which is the same name the Opel carries. But the star of their stand was that big concept sedan, the Avenir, which is French for future, I guess, which looks very much like a big, full-size sedan that would probably go over very well in China, where most of the Buicks are sold now.
Well, if you think about Buicks, they're not like exceptionally beautiful. They're not ugly. They're sort of in between. But this car was gorgeous.
Yeah,
gorgeous.
Probably the production car won't look as good. It was a concept. And over at Cadillac, they did the CTS-V, so it was a good
640 horsepower.
Yeah,
Jesus.
All right, some of the import things that struck you.
Right off the bat.
Anybody else chime in, or we're just having a
new NSX? I mean, it's been how many years they've been dangling that over us?
Seems like double that.
Yeah. I mean, the combination of technology and the aggressiveness just kind of wowed me on the stage. Now it's let's get behind the wheel and drive the thing.
Electric motors, front and rear, so when you punch the quiet mode, it will be all electric. Because we don't do this yet in this country, but major European cities are going to this green zone inside the city where basically they may only allow electric vehicles to drive. And that seems to be something that's being talked about in France and Germany and probably even other countries. So.
I kind of feel bad for the NSX. Ben and I were talking about this at lunch. It's been hyped up for how many years? Will we say 3 years?
It's 3 years since they first showed the prototype.
Finally, it's the big unveil, and then Ford drops the GT. Everyone else is like, oh, NSX,
I think they did that on purpose.
The price I thought they talked about was a little surprising too. I mean, the last NSX was what? High 80s, probably, all dolled up. And this one, they're talking 155, which just seems like a big jump.
Sounds about right, though.
Inflation adjustment.
Yeah, when you think of the I-8 and things like that.
I think it was all developed here in the U.S., right?
It's going to be built here in the U.S., and it's the first time the NSX will be built here, built in Ohio. So, yes, all developed here.
That's cool.
Yeah. They said that they started out with a normally aspirated Transverse 6. That was when they showed the concept 3 years ago. They completely dumped it, obviously, after seeing a lot of the other exotics go to hybrid drivetrains, and came back with a lengthwise mounted twin-turbo V6 with the 3 electric motors.
I think you got to give them a lot of credit for switching it up there.
Yeah, because that's why the delay, I'm sure.
I think a lot of the technology comes. Well, they put it first in the TL or RLX with the all-wheel drive.
And it's a similar system.
Yeah, and they kind of started there, and it's much more developed in the NSX.
And let's see,
Nissan.
Go ahead,
Nissan
please.
Titan
with the diesel Cummins V8 diesel
that
engine.
thing tow over 12,000 pounds.
It was huge.
Yes,
it was massive. New Tacoma, speaking of pickup trucks.
It's the first time in a while we've seen a new Tacoma.
I think it's 12 years.
Yeah, it didn't look as different as I thought it would.
Well, it didn't either. I actually thought when I first saw it that maybe they were just doing a heavy refresh, but it seems pretty new. The 4-cylinder is the same. The 6-cylinder has got that the same injection, which goes from port to direct and back that they're using in the FRS.
I know there's a manual available on each engine. I believe if I read that correctly.
It might be
Well,
right.
certainly, it's a more aggressive look. Did they need to do a lot? They are the best-selling, small pickup.
Yeah.
But with Canyon and
yeah.
Colorado,
Yeah, okay.
But 65, what'd they say? 65% of the Tacoma buyers get the TRD or above trim. So it's still going to probably appeal to that off-road set.
Yeah, back to the Titan. I'm not usually one to say, "Oh, that vehicle looks just like that vehicle," but from the pictures I saw anyway, I didn't see it in person. It looks exactly like a Ford Super
It does.
Duty.
It
The-
certainly favors the Super Duty a lot.
The grill looked the same. The mirrors looked the same. The back end looked the same.
What didn't look the same was that Ram Rebel, which was basically an off-road package, and it's not a Raptor competitor directly because you get a 6
the
and an
front
8.
grille was not very Ram-like at all.
It wasn't at all.
No.
It bronze, the crosshatch. I don't know what you'd actually call it.
It didn't look good in pics. Did it look good in person?
Pretty
It
tough
was
looking,
mean looking.
yeah.
I can't say. It looked sort of like the lower lip of a bulldog.
I was impressed with the difference in the Raptor.
Yeah.
Versus the F-150.
And again, 6-cylinder there.
It looks way better than I thought it would.
The lightweight aluminum body is 500 pounds less.
Let's see. We saw
Basic.
yet another concept from Volkswagen for a people mover to be built in Chattanooga. This one only had 2 rows of seats, but I can't believe they won't build one with 3.
Yeah, they got to put a third row. Yeah. What about the Mercedes-Benz, the new names for the...
If you can describe it,
have you
go right
figured out the
ahead.
Infinity names yet? So now it's time to...
Well, we have new names at Infinity. We have new names coming at Cadillac.
BMW messing
the
their numbers
SUVs
totally up.
BMW has changed.
GLs.
And now the M-Class is now the GLs. Anyway, what did you think of the GLE? It's 5-door, swoopy roofed like the X6.
Well, if you certainly can't be very large to get in the back there with the low-slung roof, but
I'm out then.
I think they're going to be. I think that's just going to be one of the models. They're going to build a regular squareback
Yeah.
too. So a very good show, I would say, compared to last year. More diversity and different products from different manufacturers. We forgot one: the Hyundai pickup truck, the Santa Cruz, which is it was a small truck. It was actually compact in size. They're obviously looking at that, and it had a diesel powertrain in it, which I thought was interesting.
it was really good looking, too.
It was a
Four-door?
good show.
It's 4-door.
4-door. Spoke well for what the industry has been doing, and
The internet didn't ruin this one. There were a lot of actual surprise unveils.
there
Yes.
were, and we were all talking about that up there.
Wow.
A couple that there actually were things that we weren't expecting, and that I say to everybody that surprised us, do more of it because that's what an auto show is supposed to do.
It's great to see domestics really taking the
North American
Front-light.
Car and Truck of the Year.
Go ahead.
Was announced. The F-150
The F-151 for
Truck
truck
of the Year and
the Volkswagen
GTIs.
Golf.
Golf and GTI.
Officially, it was the Golf, but it means the Golf, the GTI, and everything else. That to some people that was a surprise.
Can't argue with those choices.
No, you can't. And it was interesting that there were a lot of people that came up and said, "Were you surprised at Car of the Year that Mustang didn't get it?" And I said, "Well, not really. I mean, this is supposed to be vehicles that are trendsetters that do things better than anybody else that maybe have hopefully have some mass appeal." So, but Ford easily got the 150, and actually Volkswagen had a pretty good margin on the over the Mustang for the Golf.
Overall, good show, though. Looking
Very
forward to
good.
next year, for sure.
And it was great to be there. But now let's move along to something even more fun. And I'm going to turn this over to Brian Robinson because he was the lucky individual that got to go out and drive the 2015 Chevrolet Corvette Z06.
Oh, yeah.
Brian, were you impressed? Was it as good as you expected? Better? Tell us about
Well,
it.
I have mixed feelings on it. Not in all regards to the performance, because it's the fact that any Yahoo with some money in their checking account can go into a Chevy dealer and buy a car with this much performance
With 5 figures, not 6.
it starts at $80,000 is pretty amazing. I mean, the car just outperforms anything I've driven in that price range, far and above. The problem, 650 horsepower, supercharged V8, 650 pound-feet of torque, 2.9, 0 to 60. Tons of downforce. It's got the problem I have with it is the last Z06 was a very, I wouldn't say limited edition, but it was a special vehicle. It wasn't even built at the Corvette Bowling Green. It was built over at the race shop where they did the C6R stuff. Manual only, hardtop only. This one totally different. This was the same Stingray chassis. You can get an automatic, you can get a convertible, removable roof, and you can get every luxury amenity you can get in the Stingray. So to me, it's not as special as it once was. They're expecting as much as 20% of Corvette sales to be Z06. And for that reason, maybe it's not as special to me, but I mean, you definitely can't argue on the performance side of things.
Maybe what they're doing is because they brought it more mainstream, they're trying to make way for this supposed mid-engine Corvette that the spy shots are popping up on and everything else, which would be something like I imagine in the GT type, Ford GT type arena. I don't know. So I don't know.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. But the performance computer, which was a big deal about the car, that particularly impressed you, right?
Oh, the PDR, yeah, performance data recorder. It's just got a little camera on the header and rolls video whenever you press record. Super easy to use. It's right there on the home screen on the My Link. Just press it and hit record, and just starts rolling tape, and then you can get track overlays of pretty much every track in the country, and it'll do full telemetry. It's all the software from the C7R Cosworth
cool.
race car.
That's pretty cool.
And it overlays all the telemetry over top of your video, and super easy to get to, record and take out and put it in your laptop. And
did they talk about the fact that the camera can also be used as a valet cam, so you can trigger it so that when the valet is parking your car, you know what they do?
No, they didn't really go into it a whole lot. There's been, the info's
cute.
been out there for a long time.
Yeah,
but it's a cool feature, and I was impressed with how just easy it is to use. It's nothing super involved at all.
So the car performed easily as well as you expected.
Oh, absolutely. And you can get a base Z06 for $80,000, and then you can go up from there. They got a Z07 package that has carbon fiber brakes and a lot more, or carbon ceramic brakes, not carbon fiber, and a lot more aero elements to crank up the downforce. Super sticky Sport Cup 2 tires.
I know this is going to sound picky, but they showed it, of course, in the same yellow color initially as the race car. And to me, with all the black trim and the yellow, I thought it looked very boy racer-ish. If I was going to buy one, I'd want a darker color.
Yeah, absolutely. Compared to the last one, it's similar. I mean, they weren't subtle with all the aero add-ons. I mean, it's definitely.
If you want a more subtle car, you get the standard Stinger.
Yeah, it looks very much like the C7R race car, and they're, like I say, it's built right there in the same shop. And supposedly they don't even have to make any chassis upgrades at all for the C7R race car. Supposedly the standard Stingray chassis is all stiff enough for the race car now.
By the way, I was told that the Ford GT is actually going to campaign against the C7R, so that'll be interesting. Okay, let's move along to something a little more everyday, although hardly every day, and that's the rework, the second gen, or I guess it's actually third generation now, of the Nissan Murano. They're Nissan's two-row, high-styled crossover. Ben, you've had the most experience with it.
I did.
Tell us what you think.
Definitely high-styled indeed. The first thing that strikes you when you see it is that the design language of it is impressive. No matter who you are looking at it, it's impressive. And it carries over to the inside as well. Nissan's saying it's as premium as they can get without it being an Infiniti. Mm-hmm. And you can definitely tell that when you get inside of the it seems like all the complaining I've been doing over the years about fake plastics and plastic that's supposed to look like metal and wood, somebody's finally listened. While it's still plastic, it's not trying to be anything that resembles anything real. It's kind of like a coffee shop, kind of like a marbly, granity looking motif.
Right.
It really lends itself well to just the textures and palettes they used inside. It's definitely a more upscale feeling vehicle than it really is. Which, how can you go wrong there?
I don't know of any mainstream brand that would take the risk that they did by saying, okay, we've got the Rogue for family hauling that size. Now we're going to do something different, something that won't sell nearly as many vehicles and make it special. And they've done that. I mean,
It's not priced, it's not priced very much different than a 3-row Pathfinder. So it's not.
Well, that's it. You
super,
can actually
super
buy a
cheap.
Pathfinder for slightly less, so it does put it in a rarefied position. But it's not crazy money.
No, I mean you're only talking a front-wheel drive base start price is $29,560, and all-wheel drive you're looking at $31,160. But in top trim, platinum level, all-wheel drive, that starts at $40,600.
Aren't you amazed how he's had all those numbers just roll right off of his
I have them written down right here.
I'm not amazed
no,
at
you
all. He
shouldn't
does it all the time.
blowing everybody's balloon.
But I mean, with that, it's cool. Nissan probably has one of the most involved safety systems you can buy with their safety shield, the round view cameras, and all that crash mitigation. All this is available in the Murano, which is
Now, the powertrain's carryover, but that's
Carryover,
not necessarily a detriment, right?
the 3.5 liter V6 is the horsepower is still 260, and it seems a lot of competitors are going turbocharged 6s. So I mean, the horsepower doesn't seem as big as the number doesn't feel as big as it used to be, but CVT trans still, nothing's changed there. I would have liked to maybe seen a turbo motor instead of this V6, but I mean, you can't argue it's a great motor.
It's pretty vehicle. I really like the kind of floating roof look because they've blacked out the
It is pretty wild.
D-pillars.
Yeah.
So you really have to love that plastic trim to buy it over a Pathfinder. I mean,
Well, not only that, you don't have a third row in this either, so you'd really have
Probably
to
for
be
a different clientele.
more sophisticated maybe.
Are they saying empty nesters? Maybe.
You definitely can't take this off road like you can a Pathfinder 2. It's lower to the ground than the
not
previous
much
gen Murano.
Pathfinder off-roading you're going to do on that thing either.
Well, you put a little canoe on top of that thing, take it to your fishing hole. You're not going to be able to do that with the Murano.
That's what the Rogue is for, probably,
Yeah, more of Xterra.
or the Xterra,
Front, yeah,
which
Pathfinder.
almost everybody forgets is even still available. The real SUV at Nissan. Okay, we're going to move on now to our lightning round. We've been really looking at this question because it's kind of very interesting. And Patrick Lucas over here has our bell. And once I get the question out of my mouth, we'll talk about it until we hear the bell. And then we'll probably keep talking.
Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Okay. One of the headlines out of Detroit was a car called the Volvo S60 Inscription. I can't even say the name. It's a lengthened S60 sedan. It has about 3.5 inches more legroom in the back, which they think will appeal both to American buyers and those in the Far East. And guess what? This will be the first Chinese-assembled car sold in the U.S. when it arrives here very shortly. What do you guys think is going to be the overall reception by the public of Chinese cars? It looks like it's now the closest to reality, and we've been talking about this forever.
Are they going to sell them at Walmart?
You never know. There might be some Volvo dealer sets up there.
Amazon.
I would just say I think having a luxury brand like Volvo be the first one to do it is probably a really good sign. It's a luxury brand doing it.
And they wouldn't bring something over that was terrible quality.
Correct. Exactly.
Okay.
Is this going to be one of the lightning? But what
That's
about-
either a genius move or a
if
really
you-
bad one.
If you walk in, say you've got money, all right, you walk into a Volvo dealership and you see this S60 inscription sitting there, and you're thinking, oh, that looks really good. But wait a minute, that S60 over there is made in Europe. This S60 is made in China. You don't think that the well-heeled buyer is going to have a little bit of resistance?
Are we getting hung up on the fact that it's built in China, or that it's like a long wheelbase, unnecessary extra room? Something like that?
I think it's built in
Okay,
China
so
because
that's the issue.
actually I asked that question. I said, okay, in China you can see this as a car with a driver. A lot of entrepreneurs there like to be chauffeured around. Here I questioned whether or not it would sell. Boy, everybody else I talked to that does what we do for a living thought it would. So
Well, if you look at all the long wheelbase 7 Series and
There's an
S-classes,
Infinity
and everything
Q70L.
else.
yeah,
has
Right.
there's
There's a lot of them.
it's way over 50%. Yeah, people
Yeah.
want that extra room.
Yeah.
You want to get, if you're going to buy an S-Class, you want the biggest and the best. You're
And
not gonna buy
also,
a
if you're
base
going to carry
S-Class.
people in the back seat, why would you not want to have as much room as possible for them?
I don't have a problem with the longer wheelbase. The China situation, I'm not sure about, but I mean, we buy everything else made in China. If it's decent, I think it'll be fine.
When the Chinese took ownership of Volvo, I remember telling someone whoever was listening, that I thought maybe the first Chinese car sold here would be from Volvo, but I thought it might be something small like the C-Series.
So you predicted this?
No, I didn't
Genius.
predict this particular one, but I did say that. There was a Volvo dealer nearby me. He was so mad at me. If he had a hatchet, I wouldn't have a head. Well, I hope he's okay out there and taking this with a grain of salt. The car looks every bit as good, well put together as any other Volvo. So we'll see. And please ring that bell because I think we've kind of wrung this out as much as we can do it. You had – come on, Brian.
Well,
you had a last comment?
I don't feel
last
resolved.
comment?
I don't
Like
feel
I
like
said,
they got
I
resolved
mean,
at all.
Well, let's go.
I've been saying it for a while now. You know, our days here in the U.S. of having cars designed for us are over just because the Chinese market is number one in the world now, and cars are designed more for their market than our market. So it's just a matter of time before they get built there and shipped over here by everybody.
Buick said that their worldwide sales were well over 1 million units for Buick brand, and only 250,000 of them were here in the U.S.
Yeah.
So, okay, now let's talk about a viewer question from Greg, not our Greg, but another Greg. And here's the question. I have a 2005 Chevrolet Avalanche. As the years go by, each one of my dashboard gauges has stopped working. I've replaced the fuses, but still nothing. Can you help? Well, we've got a couple of different suggestions for you, Greg, but I'll tell you what Pat Goss said. We called him up and said, here's the problem. And he said he sees a great many of the Chevrolet and GM trucks coming in with this problem. In almost every case, the only solution is to replace the instrument cluster. But rather than go out and buy a new one, what he does is he has the old one remanufactured. There's a company that we've had on MotorWeek before called Dorman Products, D-O-R-M-A-N, and it's dormanproducts.com. And they take your cluster, remanufacture it, send it back to you, and there's a way with paperwork to certify the mileage so it comes back with the same odometer reading. And that's what he does. But that's not necessarily the only solution, is it?
There are other solutions. However, if resale is in your future, then that is your best solution. But a person like me that buys, like I have an 01 Tahoe, I'll probably drive that thing to the ground. If it happened to me, and it most likely could, I'd just go to the junkyard and get a refresher one, just slap it in there and adopt whatever mileage comes with it when I turn the key. And being that you're an Avalanche, you could pull from a Tahoe or
a lot of different
Silverado.
vehicles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much any Chevy truck's going to fit that. So
So
probably
Greg,
pretty cheap.
That gives you two courses of action, and I hope one of them works for you. Basically, you can either go to your nearby wrecking yard, or you can spend a little bit more money and get something that is, especially if you're going to resell the vehicle, that you know you've got a paper trail with. So thank you, Pat Goss, for helping us out. And Greg, we wish you good luck. And thank all of you for listening to our MotorWeek podcast, number 110. And around our table, thanks very much again to executive producer Brian Roberts, our writer, producer, and two-wheeling reporter Brian Robinson.
You're very welcome, John.
Our road test producer Ben Davis.
Next time. See you guys.
And writer extraordinaire Patrick Lucas.
It was great to have me.
Also, our audio engineer that makes us sound at least half sane, Jillian Cookman. Thank you, Jillian. Our podcast creator, Bob Mixter. And, of course, Patrick was the producer. I'm John Davis. Thanks to everyone for listening to our podcast. We hope you'll join us again soon. And for watching MotorWeek on all your public television stations and also on Velocity. Till next time, thanks for joining us.
You have been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com and by Die-Hard. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at motorweek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series each week on your local PBS station.